We are going to be looking at our first sample poem for your Shards of Memory poem, which is your first required piece for this particular portfolio. And the type of, well, the sample poem that we're going to be looking at is a poem called How I Knew Harold. Now, you'll have two options for creating your own Shards of Memory poem. Option A is going to reflect the Shards of Memory poem A here, and option B will be a list poem that we'll go over together in the next video clip. But for option A, you'll have the ability to write a poem similar in structure to what we're going to be reading here called How I Knew Harold. So let's take a look at this poem, and then I'll get into the basics with you. How I Knew Harold. Around 1981, we run into your old girlfriend on an elevator. She's wearing black leather pants and a tank top. She asks how I like New York. We're all sweating bullets. I want to say it sucks, but the door's open and she's gone. We miss our floor. Around 1953, Mom tells the family she's pregnant. My brother bounces around the living room with a pillow on his head wailing, "It will change our whole lives!" This story is recounted each year around my birthday. Around 1978, I leave home to move in with Jack. Dad and I are standing in the driveway. They don't want me to go. He's Jewish. Mom packs ham sandwiches and slips me 2 20s. I move back in 3 months. Around 1979, my friend Sandy plays taps at a funeral gig, so I go along. I walk up to the casket in my boots and fur jacket. I'm checking out the deceased when a woman grabs my elbow. She wants to know how I knew Harold. Around 1972, my sister tells me and my parents she's gay. Dad says it's unnatural and they start arguing. I keep quiet. Mom goes to the kitchen to make sundaes. Around 1962, my brother feels like scaring the hell out of me and chases me around the house with a butcher knife. I hide behind Dad's suits. It smells like Old Spice. Around 1969, I tell my parents over dinner that I'd move in with a man before I'd marry him. Dad says it's unnatural. I tell him to go get his own dessert. Around 1963, Grandma gives me $10 for learning the times tables. Around 1957, Dad and I sing My Darling Clementine every morning on the way to school. Around 1968, Patty Bryant and I run out on the check at Woolworths. Around 1964, Mom colors her hair, starts wearing eyeshadow and mascara. She's standing over a steaming sink in a pale green mohair singing Edelweiss, and she looks absolutely radiant. So this is a poem by Deborah Harding, and as you can see, these are shards of some particularly fond memories of hers, and then some memories that are not so wonderful, but these are the things that when she taps back into her past that she remembers. So if you choose to write this type of poem, you'll be writing a poem with the same structure. You'll begin each line with the phrase around 19, or in your case, probably around 2000 and something, or some variation of it, and you'll plug in a few choice items from the exercise that you'll be completing in this lesson. Each of these responses, you'll then further sketch out in your notes, documenting a few well-chosen details. You can then add other memories as they come to you. Jumble the chronology so that the memories don't move in a clear progression, but jump back and forth. This will actually probably happen naturally for you because the human brain does not remember things necessarily all of the time, in fact, not most of the time, in chronological order. We remember bits and pieces of things, and we remember what we sometimes think are odd details about past memories. This is just how our memory works. So the big important thing here that I want you to keep aware of and make sure that you do if you choose this type of poem, and I'm going to highlight this here for you, is to make sure that you have at least 3 items that are somewhat interconnected. So if we scroll back up here, I'm sure you saw this as we were reading, I've got a couple of things highlighted here. The first, up here, around 1978, this is when the author begins discussing how she moved in with her boyfriend, which we clearly see did not work out. If you jump down, though, 4 lines later, this is 1969, so this is several years before. The author is clearly younger and tells her parents over dinner that she would do this. She then goes and progresses, later on down the line to do so. We know that it doesn't work out, but you can see she remembered the incident of leaving home with Jack and then moving back before she actually remembers, or at least documents, the memory in 1969 of telling her parents that she would do this. Also notice within this particular stanza here, the highlighted word unnatural. This is clearly something that the author's father has said to her before, because we see again, so this was said in 1969, we see again up here in 1972 when the author's sister tells her parents and her family that she's gay. Again, Dad says that this is something unnatural. So we can see that there's at least 3 or 4 memories here that are interconnected to one another. The last thing that I want to point out to you is this line here. In 1979, when the author was at a funeral, a woman grabs her elbow and wants to know how she knew Harold. If you really look at this line, a memory like this doesn't seem like something that would be that important, but for whatever reason, in the author's mind, this is something that she held on to, and this is also where she gets the name or the title for her poem. So you should try to find some inspiration from your own memories when titling your poem as well. Maybe it's from one of the interconnected memories, or maybe it's from something that's completely, seemingly at least, irrelevant. All right, so let's scroll back down here. Let's look at organize the poem. So organize the poem intuitively. Hold on to your chatty voice and don't get too eloquent or lyrical. Memories, again, usually run in your memory in shards, so it should be presented that way as well. If your poem's resemblance to the model bothers you, try deleting some of the dates and placing a few others in the middle or at the end of the item. You might leave out dates completely, or you may wish to number the stanzas and call a piece something like 15 Little Poems About My Life. Be creative. This is your life. These are your memories, so there's no right or wrong way to do this, and I really am looking forward to seeing your final products. Remember, all of this should be initially documented in your notebooks that you're keeping. That way you can photograph your notes and your pre-write and insert these into Schoology for your points, and then later on these will also serve as images that you'll use for your final portfolio. Take care.